Okay, so today you're going to work on a scale drawing project. You'll be working on this for the next 2 days. If you have a Chromebook, you're going to submit it through Google Drive. If you don't have a Chromebook, you're doing it on paper. Everyone should have a ruler and their map of North Carolina. At the bottom of your map of North Carolina, it'll have your scale. Yours is already written up there. And it says that 1 inch on this map equals 58 miles. That's going to be really important for this road trip. Okay? Now, if you have a Chromebook, you need to log into Canvas. If you don't, you have it on paper. Log into Canvas. Go into My Class. Click on the assignment that says Road Trippin. Yeah. Click on the document and make a copy. Just like we did with the dinner menu activity. Give it a minute because mine's going super slow. If I was you, the way you're going to get the grade for this, if you're doing this on the computer, is sending me this document. So if I was you, I would go ahead and share it with me. So type in my email, which is in Canvas. Okay, so let's get started. You're going to need your map, which is why you have the paper copy. It'll just be a lot easier, and you're going to have to do some measuring. But the rest of the things are going to use proportions and scales to help you take a road trip through North Carolina. So I'm going to do a couple with you, so that way you're not lost. And then we will, I'll leave you to go on your own, and you'll submit this to me. All right, you and 2 of your friends are going on a road trip all over North Carolina. Use the map. Use your map, scale, and ruler. You're going to use the inches side. Okay, make sure you're using the inches side. The inches side is the bigger one, not the smaller one. To answer the questions below, remember the map scale is 1 inch equals 58 miles. So every 1 inch on this map is 58 miles in real life. So let's look at the first question. So do this with me. That way you're already started. You and your friends take off from Edenton and head to our state capital. I put Raleigh there, but I'm hoping everybody already knows that Raleigh's our state capital. For the first pit stop, how many miles have you driven so far? Obviously, you really haven't gotten in your car and gone to Raleigh. But by using your map and your map scale, you can figure out how many miles you've traveled so far. So on your notebook paper that you're showing your work, because I know everybody's showing your work for me, you need to go ahead and write your scale. That 58 miles, and it would help if I wrote it a little over. That 58 miles is 1 inch up here. So, to figure out how far we've gone, we have to measure how far Edenton and Raleigh are from each other. So let's go to our map. So your map should be on your desk. And find Edenton to Raleigh. So to figure out how far you've driven, you've got to measure it with inches. So put your ruler on Edenton. And mine is going to be a little off because mine is zoomed in up here. But Edenton to Raleigh. So measure how far apart it is from Edenton to Raleigh. And you need to write that inches down. If you get to where you're on the ruler and it's in between a number, so I'm just going to sketch like a ugly little ruler here. And it's like this, and then you have 1, and then you have 2. If it's kind of like right in here, go ahead and say 1.5. Okay, don't make it hard fractions. Hard decimals. 1.5, 1.25. But I think from Edenton to Raleigh, it should be 2.5 inches, about there. Not exactly, but about. Don't kill yourself with these measurements. Now we need to set it up. So we know our inches, obviously, because we have the map in front of us. We're trying to figure out how many miles. Inches goes with inches, so it's going to go on the bottom. 2.5 inches. And you need to solve for x. I'm going to close this so you can see it. So 58 times 2.5 and 1 times x. Obviously, 1 times x is x. And if you do 58 times 2.5, you should be able to see how many miles that is. And if you do that, you should get 145 miles. Now, I will tell you, this is not exact. I just did the best I could with the map I have. I know if you typed in Raleigh, I'm off a few miles, but close enough. So far on your road trip, you have traveled 145 miles. So go back to your document. And right here, when it says how many miles have you driven, you would type in 145. We're going to do one more question together, and then I'm going to leave you to do the rest on your own. Basically, you're just measuring from city to city and comparing your inches to miles. You're also going to learn some really cool stuff about North Carolina through this. So the next one, if you're driving 70 miles per hour on the interstate to Raleigh, how many hours have you been driving? So, you know that you were driving how many miles per hour? You have a unit right here because it says per. So you know that you should be able to go 70 miles in 1 hour. You're comparing miles to hours. Now, this may not be extremely accurate, but it's close enough. Now, we know how many miles we've driven so far because that was part 1. We've driven 145 miles. Use what you know about proportions and cross multiplication to figure out about how many hours you should have been driving. So, 70 times x is 70x. 1 times 145 is 145. Divide by 70. About how many hours have you been driving? 145 divided by 70. About 2 hours. You probably got a decimal 2.1. 2.1. About 2.1 hours. About 2 hours.
So we put 2 hours?
I'll take 2 hours. And the cool thing is, if you've ever driven to Raleigh from Eatonton, it does take about 2 hours, maybe a little more. Like I said, this isn't extremely accurate, but it's as close as I could get it off this map.
Do you know who our substitute tomorrow is? Sure.
All right, so if you look and scroll down on the rest of the stuff, there's different questions asking about unit rate, things like that. Also, you're going to go to different places. I'll show you this. Like when you get to when you get to Asheboro, it talks about going to the North Carolina Zoo. And there are links built in here that you can click on. And they'll take you so you can actually see what these places are like. Okay? So use the links. The most important thing is solving the math problems, but the links actually take you to the places that you're visiting. All right, don't forget to share this with me when you're done and use this video to help you set everything up.